So I just finished catching up with Hardcore Leveling Warrior, and my oh my, it was a journey. It was a fun and enjoyable journey catching up with this series. It's a series that has been recommended to me for a very long time. Ever since I actually started reading Tower of God for the first time many years ago, many were asking me to actually read Hardcore Leveling Warrior, and then about over a year ago, many really started saying, hey Chibi, you really gotta read Hardcore Leveling Warrior. It's freaking amazing. And I'm starting to understand why maybe about a year ago, many were recommending it to me because of the content at the end of Season 1 of Hardcore Leveling Warrior. I would assume it's been about over a year since that happened, and it all makes sense, because just that finale of Season 1 was fantastic. Like, holy crap, that stuff was very hype. But if you're coming to watch this video for my opinion on the conclusion of Season 1 or all the current ongoing content within Season 2, you're not going to get a lot of that within this video. Mainly, I'm wanting to make this video as a recommendation, because there is many out there that might not have heard about Hardcore Leveling Warrior, and they're really missing out. So I really wanted to sit down and just make a recommendation video for those to kind of enjoy this series. Get the name out there for Hardcore Leveling Warrior, because it really deserves popularity. It deserves to be noticed, because I would love to see this get an anime one day. I would really love to see Hardcore Leveling Warrior get an anime, because it would be fantastic just because of how the premise of the story is. So anyways, what is it about? Hardcore Leveling Warrior starts off as a power fantasy. Now, typically, when I say power fantasy, I'm meaning stuff like soul leveling, overlord, etc. That's kind of the presentation of Hardcore Leveling Warrior. It starts off in Chapter 1 as a power fantasy. However, that quickly does a 180 as the conclusion of Chapter 1 hits. You find out that the main male character, Ethan, Hardcore Leveling Warrior, he had everything and then lost everything, and he became literally one of the weakest players, and he started completely over. So for clarification, if you love Isekai, soul leveling, overlord, you know, any type of series that's in virtual reality, etc., you're gonna love this, because this is definitely different than everything else. It has a unique spin on everything, and I think that is something that, many look for when they're reading this type of series, is because normally nowadays when you look for, let's say, Isekai or virtual reality type anime or webtoons, manga, etc., everything starts to meld together. They're very similar, same. There's not really anything that really separates majority of them. And so I'm constantly on the lookout for stuff that really does stand out. And in this case, that's why I decided to read this, because it's different. Like, you have a character that literally is peak, basically Saitama level in his verse, but then loses it all and becomes literally so weak he can't even fight a level 1 noob. That's pretty much what happens. So that automatically got my interest. So let's get into it. So Ethan, our MC, he is someone that has max stats, perfect stats within Lucid Adventure. That is the game world that he's currently in. He has max stats in terms of strength, dexterity, speed, luck, magic, just everything you could think of, any type of stat. He has everything maxed. Like, every single stat is maxed. And the reason for this is because he is a special type of class within the game. He is a gambling class within the game. It allows him to be able to take risky bets to where, like, okay, I bet that, if I lose my entire character. Like, I will delete my character. But if I win, I take all of your strength stat. That's pretty much what he does. So he initiates PK with people, like, PvP, and it results in him, taking their stats if he wins. And that's kind of how he perfected his stats to where it's at. Because normally, you're not supposed to be able to have perfect 999 stat in every single category. But because of how he is and how lucky he is, it resulted in him basically having every stat perfected, because he continuously managed to take everybody's stats throughout the story. Besides him obviously being a very unique class and all that, the world of Lucid Adventure is melded with the real world. And what I mean is that there is a very loose border between both worlds. Example is that, let's say you make 100,000 gold within the game. You could turn around and maybe turn that into 20,000 in money. in real world, in real currency. So basically, the equipment and money you get within the game can be turned around for actual real world money. So obviously, since he was the #1 ranked player, the strongest player with perfected stats, he had a lot of money in real life. You had a lot of fame, he had a lot of fortune, he had a lot of sports cars, etc. He is someone that was definitely top of the line. He had everything, and for good reason, because that's just how the world works. If things meld together, if you're really good and successful in the game, you're able to take high-level quests, get high-level equipment, you can turn around and cash it in, sell it for extreme money on the market for real-life currency. And here's the thing, though. Because of his character, he was someone that was constantly getting money, loan money from, like, loan sharks. He was getting money from them. So if you're successful within the game, you're successful in real life. That's kind of the main concept there. However, going a little bit further towards the end of the chapter, as I already said, he loses everything. There is a certain weakness to Hardcore Leveling Warrior's entire character. He may have perfected stats and everything might be amazing, but if he is to, say, die, he loses everything. And what I mean is everything. Like, he loses all of his stats. It's reset basically back to level 1. So the title, Hardcore Leveling Warrior, makes a lot more sense now, because when you play, let's say, certain RPG games, you'll know that maybe there's permadeath for certain characters, or hardcore settings where you have to start your entire character over. In this case, that's what happens with Ethan. He is someone that has a character that may have a lot of potential, but if he does die, he loses everything. And so the #1 player became like the weakest player on the entire game because of his unfortunate death, which was very messed up. And I'm not going to get into too many details because that's up to you guys to read and see for yourself in the first chapter. But pretty much, upon death, he lost everything. So you can kind of see where this is going. Since he had a lot of money, and now he's no longer the #1 player, he no longer can make said money anymore, which puts him in quite a situation, because he constantly has business deals with loan sharks. He's getting loans from them, etc., which results in him owing money, and he's always been able to pay back his loans because he was the #1 player. He had so much, good equipment. He could do anything he wanted. But because he lost everything, it resulted in him not being able to pay his loans back. And obviously, he's thrown into, like, a prison cell to pay back to these mafia individuals. So you can kind of see the series gets a little bit dark, and he got in a little bit deep and over his head when it came to the situation with his money and everything. And that's kind of where the story starts off. Basically, he's in a very unfortunate circumstance now, and he's lost everything. However, upon reading the series, I think many are going to come to the similar conclusion that I did when I first started Hardcore Leveling Warrior, and that is the fact Ethan, Hardcore Leveling Warrior, the MC, he is unlikable. Like, he is extremely unlikable, annoying to a certain extent, and I think many are going to get that opinion while reading the first beginning chapters of the story. However, if you stick with the series, and you kind of get over that hurdle of annoyance with Ethan as a character, you'll tend to fall in love with his character. Like, you'll love his character greatly. You're like, man, he's an amazing character. And I will tell you, without spoiling, he develops. There's so much development to his character. He has such a good, like character development from the beginning to the end of Season 1. I love it from start to finish. It's fantastic. And I will tell you this right now, that when it comes to his character, though, it makes sense why he is like he is, why he's annoying, scummy, etc. is because he's Hardcore Leveling Warrior. He had to do what he had to do to be able to get to #1. And when you find out a little bit more about his backstory, his history, etc., you start to understand why he acts the way he does. And all of it is clarified if you continue through the story. And I will admit that getting into the series is kind of a hurdle. Like, the first beginning part of the story is a hurdle, because it's kind of like the series hasn't really, I guess, folded into, like, a main plot. Like, the plot was kind of taking shape and form, and you didn't really know where it was going to go. And after it finally started to settle, and you're about maybe 30-plus chapters in, the story really starts to show itself, and you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense now, and it starts getting really engaging and interesting. So, like I said, it does have a very slow and kind of a painful start, but if you could get over it, it's amazing. It's definitely worth the read. It's over 200 chapters currently right now, so if you want a good little long read, you definitely have a read on your hands. So anyways, besides just that, though, I would like to talk about the artwork, because I've probably been showing a lot of panels that are from the first chapter, and I know many are going to be looking at the art and be like, ew, it doesn't look that good. And I will be honest with you, the artwork definitely does improve. Like, most of the stuff I'll probably show in this video is from Chapter 1. And if you go to, like, the latest chapters, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. And so there is a lot of improvement with the artist. It doesn't keep the same art style from the first chapter. It does adapt and become a lot better as the story progresses. So do not worry. The artwork does improve if you stick with the story. But like I said, it's an enjoyable series. I really cannot recommend Hardcore Leveling Warrior enough. It is such a good read, and if you're wanting something unique and new, give it a shot. It's good. But okay, I love you guys, though. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you got this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.